Still with the recycled paper, making the structures of the cliffs.
Maja, thank you for taking this time to be here this morning. Early in the morning too, and you have two little boys to take care of and everything.
Yeah. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah.
Right. And listen, you asked me, I send out a questionnaire to everyone whenever I do the podcast, and you said, why am I asking you? Because this is your first podcast, right?
Yes, it is.
Well, the reason was, first of all, you're doing an exhibition here at the American Club. And I'm focusing on putting more women on my podcast, because when we did the survey and did the analysis, we have like 86% men. So I'm trying to balance that out, so I have a little ways to go.
Yeah.
And I was really thankful that you're willing to do it, even though this is your first podcast.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm very excited.
So let's start off with, where were you born?
So I was born in Denmark. So I'm Danish, and I grew up on the countryside at a farm in a small village. So or it was near a bigger village, of course, but yeah, I grew up in a small community.
Your siblings?
Yeah. I have a younger brother, yes.
How many years difference?
So 3 almost, yeah.
So you guys are pretty close.
Yeah,
though.
we are. We have lived.
Is he still
together.
there?
Yeah, he's now in Copenhagen, yeah. But have been in London, and so
Okay.
we're...
And how are mom and dad doing?
They're good. They're
They're
good.
good?
Yeah, they're still living at the farm, but they're not necessarily active at the farm. Now someone else taking care of the crops and everything, and they are having their jobs separately. Yeah.
What kind of farm was it?
So it's mainly crops. So it's actually grass seeds and also seeds for spinach. So very sort of specific, particular, yeah.
Now the grass seeds, is this for feeding livestock?
No, the grass seeds is actually for football fields and golf fields. Yeah, so very specific area. Yeah.
So even ever since you were young, your father's been doing this?
Yeah, so we have always had the farm, but there's been different crops on the fields. But so in the later years, that was actually mainly grass seeds and then after a while spinach and yeah.
Do you know the size?
The size of the farm?
Yeah.
It's a smaller farm, yeah.
Okay,
So
but smaller compared to what?
compared to, it was a part-time job for my dad.
Okay.
But I mean, he did it beside his full-time job, but it was still, it's taking up a lot of time if you want to do it right. And so
So what was it like for you as a little girl when you were growing up? What do you remember?
Having a lot of space around me, yeah. And especially coming here to Tokyo, where it's like, you could say, a concrete jungle. It's very full of contrast, because I grew up where there was like flat, because Denmark is very flat. We bike everywhere, and yeah, it's different in many ways. Not that I brought my bike here as well, but yeah. So it's a flat land, and there was a lot of space around me growing up in that area.
What about elementary school? When you were in elementary school, what were you like?
Yeah, so we lived close to my elementary school, so I could actually, when I were a little bit older, I could bike back and forth.
Okay,
So
because I think we were in Holland, and they had a ferry that came through, and everybody, they'd open it up, and all these bikes would come off.
Yeah.
And everyone came across.
Yeah.
And I think it's because everybody was on another section. I don't know the area. I don't know it demographically. What it's set up as.
Yeah, so in Copenhagen, for instance, we would bike everywhere as well. And that would be canals and bridges across the city. So that's, you could say, even more active city in terms of bikes. And there would be bike lanes and bike paths. So there would be like areas where you wouldn't let cars in, because that was would be specifically for bikes. So I think that the cities are really trying to sort of navigate into being more greener and green. And
I noticed that when I was there, bikes everywhere.
Yeah,
that's true. And people are really very aware of that. So I mean, it's very much a biking place to be.
Yes, and we bike in every kind of weather. So I mean, even if it's raining or snowing, or I mean, sun is out, we bike. Yeah.
And I think that's why the people look rather fit too. Everyone looks pretty fit. I mean, I didn't see so much obesity like I do when I go to some other countries. Yeah. I go there because I think it's because you're staying active all the time.
Yes.
What were you like in elementary school? Were you more academic or were you more physical minded?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I was more, you could say, the academic maybe, but not that I would have all the high grades in the class. That was not it. But I think that things have changed over time also. It's fun to look back and see how was I in the elementary school, or what is my, you could say, picture of myself as I remember it, and then how it developed over time.
What was it like? I mean, because I think the schooling system's different anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I think.
What was it like for you in school? Did they grade you? Did they give you grades, or did they?
No, it's a little bit different in Denmark. They of course grade at some point, but not in the very young age.
First grade, second grade.
No, they test you, I guess, in behind the scenes. It was not like we were sat down and had like test every month or so. That's not how I remember it. It's like, of course, you had test how you could read and so on, but it's not as strict as many other schools.
Right. So you're never told like you're bad or you failed in this or that.
No,
you never got that feeling.
No.
Did you keep the same teacher all the way through the grades?
Yes, but it's different now. I think that now they are sort of having one teacher going halfway through elementary school and then another teacher going with them to the end. But I had the same teacher following all the way to the end. But then
it was till the end, to the sixth grade or
to ninth grade, yeah. But
you kept the same teacher all the way through ninth grade.
Yeah, that was the meaning. Yeah,
you know,
I
that's
think we had one change. Yeah,
that's what they do in the elite schools here.
Ah,
like if you go to KO or
Yeah.
Todai, you get the same teacher all throughout elementary school.
Yeah, to follow
and those
and
teachers
have a
might
personal
have, and then they have to start over again. So the teacher might have 3 or 4 classes their whole lifetime. Because they keep on going through like that. But that means they really get to know who you are.
Yes.
So they say, Maja, they know your personality, they watch it change.
They know parents and know...
Right. So they're like a surrogate parent in a way.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it like that, but they're...
Really?
Yeah,
What are they like?
Yeah, but they're good. I mean, they know their kids in the class. And
so who was your teacher? Was it a male or female?
It was 2 males, actually, yeah.
What are their names?
Yeah, so Nikolai was the first one, and then Jesper after a while, yeah. So.
And how old were they? Do you remember their ages?
I remember actually that Nikolai, the first teacher that we had, that he was eating licorice. It's something we do.
Black licorice or red licorice?
Yeah, real licorice. Yeah.
Okay, the black licorice.
Yeah, the black licorice from his like small thing box, and then he was drinking coffee, and the combination of those two things, I was just like, how can you do that? And the thing is, sometimes when I find myself like doing the painting in the middle of the day, I'm drinking my coffee, and then I mean, if I had a shipment from my parents or some of our friends with licorice, I eat licorice and drink coffee now. I do the same, and I remember like that was what I thought, that he was like not doing.
That was not so good then. But wait, how old was he? Do you remember his age?
No, maybe he was 50
was he an older
or
guy?
Yeah,
he was older already.
Yeah, 40 or something.
Did he have kids?
Yes, he did have kids as well. So
you got to meet his kids. You got to know his kids.
Yeah.
Because you really becomes part of the family in a way.
Yeah. I mean, it was not like a part of the family, but we knew, like, we met his kids a couple of times, and I mean, yeah. He shared also like where were he from, and I think we even went by his house one day, and so that was like different in many ways.
See, so he really got along with. Did he ever have any kids in the class that he didn't get along with?
I don't know.
You don't know? No, but I mean, because you could, in our environment you can sense it, but I mean, usually there's someone who might stand out.
Yeah.
They say the best and the worst stand out the most.
Yeah.
You know who's doing the best in the class and who isn't doing so well.
Yeah, it would be fun to see how people, they would remember him now, but I think, of course, people would either like him or not like him, or maybe it changed over time, having a person being part of your school life for that many years. I guess it also changed over time.
Could you change if you didn't like him or something?
No, then I had to change a class, I guess, change to another.
You'd have to change.
Yeah, I would have to change,
But you didn't, you stayed with him.
No, I stayed in the class, And then in ninth grade, I went to boarding school, to gymnastic boarding school. We
Gymnastics?
Gymnastics, yeah. We had It's called efterskole in Denmark.
But your gymnastics is different than what we call it. We think Olympic gymnasts.
Yeah.
You're calling physical education gymnastics.
Yeah.
Right?
So it was more, you could say, there were tumblers and there were there were different type of gymnastic, but it's not an Olympic gymnastic that I did. So I went to a school where they had focus on gymnastics. So the entire school were performing gymnastics and traveling around in the country with gymnastics. So it's more, you could say, the coordinated, more like the gymnastic that you do on floor.
So what did you do? What did you do?
So that was the floor gymnastic. Yeah, more like a mix between dance and gymnastics.
Did you use any apparatus like a ball?
Yeah, we had ball and we had wimbles and
Did you have the clubs? Did you have the clubs too and the hoops?
I don't recall, because I also continued after that, having more gymnastic teams that I was a part of, traveling actually both to Australia and to Iceland with
to compete.
To show and spread out the Danish part of way of doing gymnastics.
I brought the Danish gymnastics team to Japan.
Yeah.
The first time they came to Yokota Air Force Base. And it was a men and female team, but they did floor exercise. They did vaulting, they did synchronized gymnastics.
And that was how it was in the after school.
And everyone had blonde hair and they looked similar to you.
And we all have similar clothes.
Of course, the same thing. It was group.
It was coordinated. Yeah. And we were approximately 120 people at that boarding school. So that was synchronized, like 120. Yeah, we were one of the largest schools at that time.
The ages had to span, you had 4 years in boarding school, or how many years?
No, it was only 2 years.
Oh, 2 years,
actually it was only 1 year that was primary. So that would be what was compared to 10th grade. But I went to boarding school at 9th grade. So I was one of the younger actually at that boarding school, yeah.
How far away from home was it?
Approximately an hour's drive.
So you came home every weekend?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, we weren't allowed to either. I mean, it was a part of being together with the classmates, and I mean, it's a part of growing up and become an adult. That's how we also see it, and that's also how the school perceived it at that time. So you were allowed to go home sometimes, but it was actually you're supposed to stay there during the weekends, and sometimes we were traveling during the weekends, having doing gymnastics different places in the country.
So what, you were 13?
13.
13, just becoming 14, a teenager.
Yeah.
Just becoming a woman.
Yeah.
And they come in, they really start to work with you then.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's co-ed?
Yes, I mean, friendships for life, and I mean, it was amazing being a part of that team.
So you're still close with some of them, and they're saying, look they say, Maja's in Japan now.
Yeah.
So when did you start to get involved with art? Okay, so wait, tell me after boarding. After boarding school, where'd you go?
Then I went to gymnasium, it's called the Denmark High School,
It's called gymnasium, and I've never heard that.
Yeah, gymnasium, yeah. So high school, yeah. So I went to high school in a nearby city to my parents' city, yeah. So
you came home every day, you didn't, there's no boarding.
So I went back home, and then I started the high school, and then that was 3 years, basically commuting back and forth with train to high school, because that was the easiest and fastest way to get to school there. So that would be from, you could say, the different small cities around Roskilde and then Roskilde.
So you had new students, people you never
New students and new people from many different places.
Oh really? So it became it wasn't as homogeneous as it was before.
It was no, it was different, And
really different. So you start seeing people you hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
Right. So is that when you started to think about the subjects you really wanted to do, or the things you wanted to do in life?
At that time, yes, because I was studying biology and mathematics at that time.
You favored that? You really liked that?
So that was biology, yes, very much. Yeah.
What about it did you like?
Yeah, no, I grew up on a farm, and I was really into animals. I thought I should be something with exploring the world and the animals and traveling around, and here I am traveling still, but not with animals. So that was what I thought actually, and I thought that I should, after high school, do more of that. But
wait. There's a lot of things you can do with animals. What do you mean?
So become an undersea biologist that could.
So you're more interested in sea life?
Either sea life or the more, you could say, near animal. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't really defined
just study
at that
them,
time.
or did you want to become like a doctor?
No, I would rather study them, I think. But it wasn't really, as I remember, that specific at that point. But I thought that was the path that I should go. But in order to go there, I had to take more classes and have more physics and chemistry, as I remember. So that was actually what I wanted to do at that time. When I graduated high school, I remember that I went to one of the big festivals in Denmark, and before I went there, I stopped by one of my friend's house because she was going with me, and she was filling out those forms for going to a business school in Copenhagen. And quite by incident or coincidence, I sat down and just waited for her to fill out those forms before we could go to the festival. And so she said, "You should apply too." And I was, no, I'm gonna study chemistry, and I'm gonna travel with some of our other friends to around the world and explore and become an adult. And I had my idea of what I should do. And so she said, "No, you should really try to apply. I mean, it's only those who apply that sort of makes the level of who is accepted at this time at the school."
It's for business.
Yes, business. And I looked at the paper and I read through some of them and said, "Oh, this one with communication, that sounds quite interesting, actually." And but I was like, "Oh, the GPA there, that's high." And she said, "But if you're not applying, then you won't get a spot at all." And so it ended up me filling out the form for the communication part, and I sent it off because she was filling out this, and I think, as I recall it, and maybe it's like a different situation, but as I recall it, we just sat there and I was just like waiting for her to fill out it, and I filled it out, and then I sent it off. And then I went to the gymnastic team to Australia, and I went to Roskilde Festival and had a blast and celebrated the entire summer with my friends. When I came home from Australia, there was a letter in my parents' mailbox that I was accepted at Copenhagen Business School. So, yeah.
So you said, wow.
So then I had a minor crisis.
Right.
Yeah, standing in the hallway with my mom and said, like,
now,
I thought I should do
how
this.
How old are you now?
Yes.
Maybe
so
16?
that would be in 2008. Yeah, something like 20.
You were 20?
Yeah, something like that.
All right.
So yeah, I remember I stood in the kitchen with my mom, and I said, like, but I thought I should go out and travel and do this, and she was like, yeah, but what is the worst thing that can happen? I mean, you could start the business school, and if it's not you, then you can drop out and you can do something else. So that was what I did, and then I continued. I was so happy with the communication and business. Yeah. So I got the bachelor degree.
In what? In business?
In business, business administration and communication,
right?
and organizational communication. Yeah. So yeah, and then I read the masters as well. But in between there, I actually got a job in a bank. I went to Oxford to study English, and I climbed Kilimanjaro because.
But you spoke English before that.
Yes.
But you wanted to make it better.
I wanted to make it better because
understand.
I knew that I wanted an international master degree. So in order to do that and help myself, I wanted to improve my English skills. So that's the reason why I went to Oxford and tried to improve. And then I had a New Year resolution that year that I wanted to do something more challenging. So I went to Kilimanjaro by myself to Africa and climbed with a group of people.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah, not by myself. No, but I went down there by myself, and
What did your parents think? Well, of course, they just said whatever.
Yeah, I remember
This is
my
Maja.
mom. She had a tear in her
said,
eye when I
"Please,
left because
please,
I knew that the phones were not reaching on the top of
That's
the
right.
mountain.
She said, please come back.
Yeah.
You're my only daughter.
So
Well, how was Dad? How was your father?
I think they were good.
They were good for it?
He was good. Yeah.
How long were you gone?
Yeah, some weeks. I don't really recall. Yeah.
You could take a lot of pictures and everything?
Yes. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
That must have been beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
How big was the group that you went with when you went up
I
there?
think we were 10 people.
10 people.
10 people.
How many guys did you have?
So I cannot recall, but it was amazing. Like how they
Okay.
worked this and helping.
Did you ever feel any angst, or did you ever feel nervous at all the whole time?
No, it was
all the way up, all the way down.
All the way up, all the way down. I was eating like two grown-up men, and I was having a blast in the kitchen because I was the youngest at the expedition, and I think that those like people working with the kitchen, they let me in there. I have pictures that I sat in there in the tent and making dinner and food and tea with all of them, and it was just so much fun.
Where were the people
Try
from?
to navigate how to walk with everything on the head, and
Yes.
yeah.
But how many people from Denmark? How many people were from there?
So I think there was a group of 10 people. Yeah. So
all of you from Denmark.
Yeah. So it was a
okay.
Danish tour guide. Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
So that was just.
So did you guys? You didn't speak in English so much then, did you?
It was a mix because we also spoke with the people that helped. Yeah. So it was a mix.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that
it was
is
a lot
nice.
of fun. Yeah.
That is so nice.
Yeah.
What was the weather like?
It was it was very good, except from the very top. Yeah, it was snowy.
Really cold up there,
it was snowy when we came to the last day climbing to the summit. Yeah.
Okay, so then after you came down from Kilimanjaro, did you get married then?
Nope.
What happened? What was your first job?
My first job. So I was working in one bank when I was having a leave, getting a leave to go to Kilimanjaro and to
Oxford. Really? So that was your first.
That was my first job, and then you could say I have actually had many, you could say, smaller jobs, because in Denmark it's actually quite common to have jobs while you're studying. So I had my first job in a grocery shop when I was in high school, and so I've had many different being a waiter and
but
stuff.
your education is paid for by the government?
Yes, yeah.
Everything?
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about that. You never leave college with a big debt or anything like that?
No, not in Denmark. Not if you...
That's why. And I think that's what makes them get upset about all these people coming in, because they want that. And your medical system is very similar to the Japanese too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, Yeah, so I had several jobs throughout my education, and then the bank was in between the gap year, in between the bachelor and the master's degree. But when I started to work or started my master's degree, I got a new job, also by coincidence, but again in a bank, in a different bank, and that's actually the bank that I'm employed with right now. So, yeah.
Oh, you're still working?
Yes. I'm going back to work now, because while we've been in Japan, I've been on leave. Yes.
They're that lenient.
Yeah.
And you know you'll have a job when you go back.
Yes.
You've been away for 1.5 years already.
Yeah.
That must be nice. And they said no problem. When you come back, you've got a job.
I was very fortunate that they still wanted me, even though I came and said, "Yeah, I'm gonna leave."
What's your job there?
So I left a position as being head of management office and group finance. So that was really a great position.
And that's the largest bank where?
In Scandinavia.
In Scandinavia,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And do you have a painting hanging up there too?
Sorry?
Do you have a painting?
No, not yet.
Okay, not yet.
That
but
is
you will.
My goal.
She's going to get her painting there.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
You will.
Yeah.
That'd be beautiful. That'd be nice to put on your resume.
Yeah.
You have a painting in the largest bank in Scandinavia.
Yeah, that would be nice to have that. Yeah. So now I'm transitioning to Norway instead of being employed out of Denmark, but still with the same bank.
Is that the reason why you're going back?
Sorry?
Is that the reason you're going back?
No, it's... No, I think the main reason why we are going back is, as I also mentioned to you, we have 2 kids, and my oldest son, he is soon to start school. So we wanted to also give him a chance to have friends and start learning the language before he starts school. Yeah.
So how old is your oldest?
5.
5, and the youngest is 3.
Yeah.
Okay. I bet they're close too. That's
yeah,
nice.
they are very close. Yeah.
Oh, that is neat. So you don't have them in any school here?
Yeah, they are international daycare here in Akasaka. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because I've taught at many of the schools here.
Yeah.
And I had my boys go to the British school.
Ah, yes. Okay. Yeah.
They went there at first, and then I've had them homeschool. I put them in a school out in Yokohama because it was more European. A lot of people from Denmark go to school there.
Yeah, they have the German and they have...
Yes, the German schools out there, close and everything,
Yeah.
So I did that. But also I had them in Japanese school too because their mother's Japanese. So I had to make sure they were bilingual and they got both cultures. And it's interesting. People become Japanese, and I think they become Danish, I think they become American, only if they go through the elementary school. That's where you get the emotional context of what the country's like. And then you'll know. But outside of that, if you come in later, I don't know that you'll ever click.
No, I think
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean, because I mean, yeah.
Because you can tell someone that says they live in Denmark with someone who was raised in Denmark is different.
Yeah.
If they
how they are integrated and how they like interact and.
Because you always see it from outside if you don't do the elementary. They say that your emotional makeup is made from birth to age 12. After that, it would take something traumatic, like a death or your bad accident, for you to really change. But outside of that, you're pretty much made up. The rest is just information.
We better hurry. 12.
You know?
Yeah.
They say that. But then with the technology and stuff we have now, everything's changing so rapidly.
Yeah, it is.
So okay, so you work at this bank. How'd you meet your husband?
So
if you don't mind me asking.
No, that's okay. Yeah, so we met at the masters. Yeah, many
at the what?
At the master's degree.
Oh, when you were getting your master's degree.
So so I went back to Copenhagen Business School and studied my master's there. Yeah, and that's where we met. We were at the same program. Many Norwegian, they go to Copenhagen to study.
He's Norwegian.
He's Norwegian.
Okay.
He's Norwegian. Yeah.
Was that a problem for your parents?
No, not at all. That's. I remember that I showed a picture of him to my mom, and she said he looks really Norwegian.
She knew right away before you even told her.
No, I don't know if.
Okay,
I think I told her.
Okay.
I don't recall. Yeah. So so we met there, and then one thing just led to another, and he stayed in Copenhagen.
Okay.
Yeah, he learned the language and got a job, and he got married.
So what languages do you speak at home?
Danish and Norwegian.
You speak Norwegian too?
I'm trying to learn it now. No, I still have some work to do.
Okay. What does he do?
He speaks both languages, but he speaks Norwegian at home, because I think it's important that we speak both languages, so that the kids, they are
that's true.
exposed to both. Yeah.
So they look at you and they respond to you according to the way you respond to them.
No, not necessarily, because our youngest, he's fluent in English, and we came here when he was 1.5, so I guess just at the age where he was like developing a language. And so putting him into an international daycare here, where he spoke English, and then coming back home, still having his brother this close to him at both, you could say, scenes, both situations. They speak English to each other.
To each other, yes. Is that right?
And he speaks English, of course, in daycare, but so he responds to us in English as well, because that is his main language now.
But he understands everything that you're saying.
Everything, yeah. Norwegian and Danish and English and a little bit of Japanese. So it's a mix of everything.
But he never speaks to you in Danish or Norwegian?
He starts now to sometimes speaks a little bit Danish to me, but no, yeah.
What about
mainly
the oldest?
He's fluent in Danish and in English, yeah. Oh. So, and speaks also a little bit more now that we practice the Norwegian, yeah. So that's, we're trying to loop that in also.
But what does your husband do? What kind of work does he do?
Yeah, so he's a management consultant. He's working with Deloitte.
Deloitte & Touche?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what's he going to do when he leaves here? Same thing?
Yeah, so he will still be with Deloitte in Norway.
Because you guys came here with him.
Yeah.
Now, when did you get involved with your art?
Yeah, so my art started when I first got pregnant with my oldest son, actually. So it's 6 years ago, I guess. Yeah, 6 years ago. I don't know whether there was an urge to communicate or do something different than what I was used to do, but I painted a little bit watercolor when I was a kid, but nothing like any of this. So I bought, when it all started, bought a small canvas and I started painting, and I showed it to my husband. He's my biggest critic, and he would always tell me if it's not good, but he said like, oh yeah, there's something there, but you should go big or you should go home. So the next day I bought a huge canvas and I brought it with me back home on the bike actually. So the weight was weighing on the pedal of the bike. And carrying, you could say, not biking, but just like pulling everything on the bike. And it was windy, I remember, and going across the canals and the bridges in Copenhagen with that big canvas, it was like a sail almost. But when I came home, I put it on the iron table and I started painting. And I quite quickly found out that brushes was not for me. I was too distant from the canvas, so I literally just took whatever I could find, like cardboard and stuff like that, and started painting with that. And so, yeah.
Okay, so you take cardboard.
Yeah, rip it apart.
Rip it apart and put it in something?
And then I dip it in paint and apply it on the canvas.
So you wanted to you wanted to be close?
Yes, close to the canvas so that I can feel the canvas. So I use my fingers and use cardboard and whatever I can think about, but the brushes didn't work at that time for me, no. So most of the paintings that you would see in your gallery down here is also painted with ripped apart cardboard and recycled paper.
Okay, but what's going through your mind? Okay, take me through one of your paintings.
Yeah, so I don't do any sketches or anything beforehand. I think sometimes I like sort of imagine how it could look like, but else it just comes as it comes. Yeah, but at that time I think it was just like letting some steam out or being connected with some way to, you could say, communicate in a different way, being more creative again. And then I got positive response on it. And then I thought, okay, let's try to do a couple. And then I started selling them to friends and family. And by the time I gave birth and a couple of months later, I actually had my first solo exhibition in Copenhagen. Yeah, so
how many pieces?
So I think it was 15 or so. Yeah,
okay.
And they were quite large. So that was at Deloitte headquarters in Copenhagen. I remember my oldest son, he was like, I guess 4 months or so, lying at the floor when I put up all the paintings, and yeah. So that was, and then I went back to bank and worked and had it as a hobby during that time. And then when I got pregnant with my second child, I had my second solo exhibition in Copenhagen, in another part of Copenhagen. So that was a lot of fun. And then being able to give it more time again and more space, because then the maternity leaves have been where I've sort of, you could say, done a little bit more peak, giving it more an active.
How much maternity leave are you given?
Yeah, so half a year paid, and then you can, So
that's nice.
Yeah, so it gave, never know.
What about your husband? Can you get the same amount of time?
Now it's different, but at that time he didn't have as much, but he still had 3 months.
Because Japan is doing that. Because
Yeah.
my third son just had his first child.
Congratulations.
Well, made us a grandparents in February, and they get a maternity leave.
Yeah.
He does too.
Yeah,
And
but equal amount of time.
I think it's equal.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's equal, but both of them their jobs were very lenient with them, and they really wanted them back.
Yeah.
Because they bribed them.
Yeah.
Both of them, I think, did really well as a result of saying they would come back. Because they were worried that they may not come back.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of women transition into new jobs once they are back from maternity
leave. Or don't come
leave.
back, right?
Oh yeah, that's also
That's something to worry about. And they're really good workers. They really do good things. But they did the same thing with my son. I guess it depends on how they're doing financially. And they knew that he could have left if he wanted to, and he decided not to.
Yeah.
You did something really interesting. You took all of the wrapping that you used to come over here in Japan, and use that in your artwork. Is that the artwork that's down there now?
Yeah.
Is that through the wrapping?
Yeah, so that's,
How do you go about doing that? And some of that looks like it's made with gold leaflets, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not.
But it looks that way.
Yeah,
like the point.
Yeah.
That looks, as you call it, is that the name of it?
Spike.
The point? The spike.
Yeah.
It looks like it has gold in the tip of it.
Yeah. No, it's actually a golden acrylic paint. But yeah, that's right. The structure, the three-dimensional structure, is actually made from recycled paper. So
but it's all the stuff that you came over here with.
Yes. So it was wrapped around our belongings when we moved from Copenhagen to Tokyo. And once they helped us unpack all these boxes with all our stuff.
You were going to take it and you said, no.
Yes, exactly. It was like floating with this paper, and I was just, what are you going to do with all this paper? And they're going to throw it out or burn it? And I said, can I keep some of it? And yeah, please, go ahead. And so I kept many of the pieces of the paper, and I thought, okay, maybe I can try to upcycle it, bring it into my art and tell a story with this. And so I did. I brought it in under the paint in my first painting, and I framed it, and I put it in my backpack, and I biked around in Tokyo, knocking in doors at the galleries and at the furniture shops and stuff like that, because I didn't have any network when I came here.
Wait. First of all, tell me about the art again. You said you took some of this recycled paper and you put it under the painting. What do you mean under the painting?
So maybe it's also wrong to say under it. Yeah, so I work it into the canvas. So I paint, you could say, first layer of paint on the canvas.
How? What do you do?
With the cardboard. So rip off the cardboard and use the paint and apply it on the canvas that's the background. Let's say it's the background. And then I start with the paper, working the paper into the canvas so that it makes a structure and so that it's stuck with the paint on the canvas.
Because it's acrylic. And I noticed most of the stuff down there has earthy type color to it.
Yeah.
I like to work with those colors, but I saw a few bright ones at the end.
Yes, true, and that's the development you can see over time. Yeah,
but it looks really earth-like.
Yeah. It's very. I think it's like the coziness and what we call in Danish hygge, like the earthy hygge. That's like a cozy the cozy.
How would you use that in a sentence? Okay,
so
when would you use that word?
It's a very distinct Danish word. Yeah, so I would say in Danish I would say it's hyggeligt, but it's very cozy, that you have like a warm color, like that tucks you in, that sort of give you comfort, and compare it or mixed with the golden tones, and then it's like a warm colors.
So I see that's the kind of coloring that I see at the beginning.
Yes.
And I saw some of the pieces, and I see that you sold one already too, and you just opened it.
Two.
You sold two, but they took it away then. They must have taken this.
There's one upstairs and one downstairs.
The soul? Wait. I saw the one that you have downstairs, because when we put red circles on it. So there's only one downstairs that has a red circle on it.
And then
the other one, you mean on the family side?
Yeah.
Okay, that's sold.
Yeah.
That's huge, isn't it?
But it's not the big one that is sold.
The big one. Okay,
I'm still
because the
waiting
small
for that.
one, you have the small one, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be sold.
Fingers crossed.
You'll get it.
No, yeah.
Because you have 3 weeks, isn't it 3 weeks?
Yeah, almost.
You just started.
Almost. Yeah, it's just started. Yeah.
That's
so
good.
people should
well, make sure you
stop
come, see it. I'll have this podcast up soon, so you'll be able to have plenty of time, because you just put it up this week, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because I just saw you. I saw you this week.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, so we're doing this, so you're gonna have plenty of time. But come down, see it. If you're not a member, you'll have to. I guess, how would they come in?
Yeah, then they would have to approach me, and then
they'd have to
I
approach
can.
you, and I'll put your information down so they can get to
Thank you.
contact
Yeah,
you.
it's running until September 2nd.
September 2nd. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So go on. Tell me more about the coloring.
Yeah. So so the warm and earthy colors are more what I brought from Scandinavia, and then I came here and I could see that it also developed with the more, you could say, colorful tones. So you see the landscape paintings, for instance, both upstairs and also in the basement. That would be still with the recycled paper, making the structures of the cliffs and the landscape, but you could see the tones or colors in the sky on the paintings are more inspired by what I experienced here in Japan. and of course also the small torii gates and the more shrines, and so there's like Japanese.
That's at the end. That's at the very end, yes.
So now, no, that's you could say more in the middle, like in time-wise at least. Yeah, and they are not hanging in order downstairs. They're just like floating. And then the very colorful that you referred to is the very end. I like to challenge myself, so I also thought, okay, maybe I should think out of the box and make something that is a little bit different. And the funny thing is that when I hang all the paintings, and my two sons, they were part of the opening reception, they ran all the way to the end and said, "This one, mommy, that's my favorite," because it has like a Shinkansen picture of a Shinkansen. And
is that right?
Yeah. So
it is also bright.
It is very bright. Yeah. Both the sumo painting, but that's also the one with the Shinkansen and Sky Tree, and
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really so good.
But all of them made with recycled paper underneath the paint, sort of to underline who am I as an artist right now also. Because I mean, the paper also tells the story of going and traveling from Copenhagen to Tokyo, and what you see often is also that the paper actually goes beyond the edges of the canvas. And that's because I don't necessarily think that I should try to contain it within the canvas. It has its own story to tell. It's like its own, its own narrative.
So you get into it. How long does it usually take you when you're doing a painting? What's the longest it's taken you to do a painting?
That varies quite a bit, And I often get that question actually, because, but the thing is, I often work at several paintings at the same time. And sometimes I have to leave a painting in anger just because it's not working for me. So I leave it.
You have a feeling, you get feelings, you're putting your whole feeling. Oh.
Yes. Yeah, I'm very attached to all the paintings, and even though I know it's like a custom-made piece that I should give away in a couple of weeks, I still feel attached to it. So.
You do that? You do custom?
Yes, I do.
Bespoke? So if I ask you, I said, if I give you some of my hair and stuff like that, so could you make a painting and do this for me? And here's some old clothing.
I've never had that request.
I said, these are old suits. Can you do something with it here?
Most of the time.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would. Yeah. Most of the time, people, they approach me and say, we have this size, we would like this size, but we would like something inspired by this specific piece that you made on your Instagram here, or made like, could you make something similar but in bigger scale? Or so I've also done custom made pieces. Yeah.
So what's the time? Give me some time.
Yeah, so
what's the longest you've ever done?
Several months.
Several months on it, because you just couldn't get it.
Because it's like ending up being tweaking on it, because I mean it's not, it has to feel right. And what I often do is that once I sort of approach towards the end and I can see like there's something here, I hang it on the wall back home because I want to look at it from different angles and different lights over time, also to sort of go and observe it. So
see what it does to you.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any that you did and you said, okay, that's it, and you just threw it away?
Yeah. And over painted it. Yes, of course.
Is that right?
Yeah.
You get it just doesn't vibrate the right way.
Yeah. If it's not working, then it's not working. And sometimes I've had paintings that I've made, and my husband or my sons, they've said, like, you should turn it around, or
really, and just flip it and change the whole
flip it, and then we flip it, and then we see like, how does it look like now? Yeah, and then okay, now I'm inspired, and so it's everything counts, you could say.
But isn't that beautiful, the fact that you get to create?
Yes, it's
and it would always
wonderful.
be a part of you, something that you've given out.
Yeah.
During your experience here.
It's fantastic that that it can create happiness for someone else as well. Wow.
What do you see happening in the future, the near future?
Yeah, I think that first of all, we will relocate again. We will relocate to Norway this time, and I will have a full-time job, and my husband will have a full-time job. We will have 2 kids in daycare and so on. I will bring the art. I will definitely bring the art. I cannot not. I mean,
you can't see not doing that, right?
So I will bring it first of all as a hobby again, but I also foresee that it might take up late hours, and I mean that's where I work the best. Where,
do you really?
Where
You're a night person?
Where everyone else is sleeping, no one expects anything from me,
that's
and
right, that's right.
So that's where the magic happens. Yeah.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Maja, before I end the podcast, there's always a question I like to ask.
Okay.
If you could go back in time and meet the younger Maja,
yeah,
and give her advice, knowing what you know now, how old would she be and what advice would you give her?
I think I would tell her to have fun and believe in what she's doing, and could keep working hard.
How old would she be when you tell her that?
Yeah, I think she would be maybe in her 20s. I think when you're a young adult, you don't always, like, first of all, you don't always know where will life take you, and I still don't know that, but but I think that there's a lot of insecurity in where you're heading, and especially the turn that I told you about, trying to navigate towards the more, you could say, being a biology or whatever it would take, and then coming into business and then follow that path. I've never seen that turn coming before. I mean, I was right in the middle of it. So looking back, I think that, having those moments where you would stand in a crossroad, I think that I would love to tell her, myself at least, that this is gonna be just fine.
And it was,
yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Maja.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I want to thank all of you for watching or listening to this podcast. And never forget, it's all unknown, so continue to reach for the stars.
Because you're too blessed to be stressed.